Welcome back. This is Mark Rudov, branding advisor to CEOs and author of 3 books on branding for CEOs. And my latest, Duped Again, Why Sophistry Works, which you can get at dupedagain.com. Another important book for another important topic, which is why Biden has betrayed Israel. I've wondered about this topic for some time. I'm trying to find out exactly what is really going on. Back in 2019, July 11th to be specific, Robert Gates, the former defense secretary for Obama, appeared on Face the Nation with Margaret Brennan, CBS. She wanted to discuss a number of topics with him, and she referred to the book he wrote back in 2014, his memoirs, in which he said that Joe Biden has been wrong on almost every foreign policy and national security issue for the last 40 years. Well, that was 10 years ago. So now we can say safely that it's been 50 years because Joe Biden makes blunder after blunder after blunder, not only in foreign affairs, but in domestic affairs. In fact, all affairs. Watch.
I was rereading your memoir before we sat down to talk, and you said in your memoir, Joe Biden is impossible not to like. Quote, he's a man of integrity, incapable of hiding what he really thinks, and one of those rare people you know you could turn to for help in a personal crisis. And you know what I'm about to read to you. Still, I think he's been wrong on nearly every major foreign policy and national security issue over the past 4 decades. Would he be an effective commander-in-chief?
I don't know. I don't know. I think I stand by that statement.
You see his hesitation? Didn't really care for Joe Biden. Judgment is a key factor here. Michael Rubin, who's a senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, had something to say about Joe Biden's judgment back in 2008. On August 26th of 2008, he penned a column in the Washington Post called Biden's Blink on Iran. I extracted 2 quotes from this article. The first one, as chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Biden is well versed in policy debates and carefully choreographed trips. But his record on the Islamic Republic of Iran, perhaps the chief national security threat facing the next president, that would have been Obama, because he was Obama's running mate at that point, just before the election later that year, suggests a persistent and dangerous judgment deficit. Biden's political games have made him Tehran's favorite senator. Let that sink in. Tehran's favorite senator. So he's been in tight with Tehran for over 20 years. And that's the underlying theme in today's message. Not only was he Tehran's favorite senator, but he is Tehran's favorite president. On March 13th, 2002, only 6 months after 9/11, Joe Biden appeared before the American-Iranian Council, a group heavily underwritten by all the oil companies. And he gave a 27-minute speech, and I'm just going to show you a few minutes of it, where he is pleading to do business with Tehran. Watch.
In that regard, let me also extend an invitation. In my capacity as chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, I'm prepared to receive members of the Iranian parliament whenever its members would like to visit. If Iranian parliamentarians believe that's too sensitive, I'm prepared to meet them elsewhere and anywhere if they genuinely wish to engage in discussion. Without speaking for my colleagues, I'm confident many of them would join me in such a historic meeting. Indeed, Some, including my friend Senator Arlen Specter, did participate in an earlier brief encounter at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, organized by the American Iranian Council. We should be under no illusions that these steps by themselves will have a decisive impact. The direction that Iran takes and the form of government it chooses are ultimately matters for the Iranian people to settle. But I do believe that our actions have reciprocal actions that occur in Iran. And I would respectfully suggest that at least the 5 points I have made would be of some positive impact in moving those forces in Iran with whom we wish to see succeed, have a greater opportunity to succeed. As you know, Nowruz marks the start of spring. So let's hope that in this season of renewal, that Iranians and Americans can find a way to build on shared interest and work constructively to overcome their differences peacefully.
So I'm building my case here that one of the key reasons that Joe Biden is betraying Israel is because of his allegiance to Tehran. In 2021, he hired Robert Malley, whose godfather was Yasser Arafat. Malley was to come in to Joe's administration to be the chief negotiator with Tehran to resurrect the 2015 nuclear deal that Donald Trump scuttled. Why did he want to do that? Again, his allegiance is to Tehran. He fancies himself this historical figure who's going to save the world with an allegiance, an agreement, an alliance with Tehran. How's that worked out? Not so well. And what happened was Robert Malley was caught with classified information on his phone, on his computer, and Tehran hacked it. So a year ago in June 2023, O'Malley was put on leave without pay. This is disgraceful. This guy's allegiance is not to the United States, it's to Iran, and Biden hired him. Now, you've heard recently that Joe Biden told Israel, if you go into Rafah, I'm cutting off all weapons to you, which makes it dangerous for Israel. This war in Gaza could have been over 4 months ago, but for Joe Biden, who's put impediment after impediment after impediment in Israel's way. You notice that Joe Biden never talks about the hostages. And I believe the reason is he doesn't care about them. Every day that the hostages are in Rafah, there are protests in Tel Aviv against Bibi. Joe Biden wants that. Joe Biden has been trying to bring down Bibi's government ever since Joe Biden entered the Oval Office in January of 2021. So this has been happening way before the October 7th massacre of Israelis by Hamas. And just before that, Joe Biden allowed Qatar, which harbors Hamas leaders, and also did business with Jim Biden, Joe's brother, and Lebanon to get weapons from the United States. So he's circumventing Congress and he's selling weapons to enemy countries. And he cut this deal with them just before announcing to Israel, you're not getting any weapons. And oh, by the way, he waited until he gave his phony Holocaust Remembrance Day speech. He waited until after that to announce to Israel, I'm cutting off weapons to you. What kind of a person does this? What kind of a president does this? A president whose allegiance is to Tehran. On May 2nd, 2011, Obama sent SEAL Team 6 into Pakistan to kill bin Laden. It was very effective. One person was against it, Joe Biden. You have to ask yourself, why hasn't Joe Biden sent SEAL Team 6 into Gaza to rescue the hostages? As I said, he doesn't care about them. He could do that. He could say to Bibi, with you or without you, I'm sending in SEAL Team 6 and we're going to get those hostages. He never did it. He never talks about them. And I told you why. So you take this panoramic view of everything that Joe Biden is doing. And it's not in the interest of the United States, and it's certainly not in the interest of Israel. So in a nutshell, those are my reasons for why Joe Biden is betraying Israel. The chief one is his allegiance is to Tehran, and it has been for over 20 years. It's disgraceful. But there it is. We have riots on campuses all over America. What is Joe doing about that? Nothing. He made this speech on Holocaust Remembrance Day where he railed against anti-Semitism. He railed against violence on campus, but he didn't mean a word of it. And it's festering. It's getting worse. Is he sending in the National Guard? No. Is he recommending that we cut off all federal funding to these colleges? No. Because he wants this. His speech that day was perfunctory and it was phony. He doesn't mean any of it. He really does want Israel to be destroyed. You can disagree with me. I don't care. But the evidence is right there. This is Mark Rudov at markrudov.com. Until next time.